Today we talk about the upcoming Forbidden and Limited list. If you want 5% off any single or sealed product, head over to tier0games.com and use code GALZO5 at checkout. How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we are talking about the looming Forbidden and Limited list that is probably around the corner, but not really because Konami doesn't say anything about dates of Forbidden and Limited list. So we're gonna have to see, guess, analyze the meta and decide what goes on the ban list. Before we begin, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. If you're new, as always, consider joining as a member. If you want to support the channel even further, click the join button below to know how. So this video is of course a ban list prediction. I don't think that everything here will be happening, but I do think some of the things that I'm mentioning here are the right call, and I'm trying to think the way that Konami does. The last ban list showed us that when Konami sees a very powerful tier 0 deck, they just take out things from the ban list that directly counter it, but effectively does nothing. We saw that with Macro Cosmos and Diffuser that are not really being played. So the first card is actually Artifact Scythe. Why Scythe and why now? Nobody's playing Scythe. There's tons of Bestials in the format that can counter it. That's all valid points. I'm thinking about a couple things. One, the reprint of Artifact Sanctum in the Trap Tricks structure deck is going to make it a little bit more accessible, and in combination with Triple Tactics tasking, that it's going to come back a little bit during this tier list. It becomes a little bit more dangerous and a little bit too easy to set up a Scythe lock. Mystic Mine was actually banned past its prime. It didn't see any tops or participation for a while. Then it got banned because Konami realized for the long term, it's just not right to put that card anywhere near legality. So I think Scythe, looking forward, is actually a very worthy ban, just as a card that we all know that needs to be banned, and not playing it currently, I don't think is an excuse. And the next card I want to put on the Forbidden list is Instant Fusion. And the reason why I'm not putting Kit Kalos here is that I don't think they're gonna touch a single card with the word Tearlaments on it. I think that Instant Fusion has been a very problematic card. I think that with, again, Triple Tactic Tasking, it becomes even more powerful that you can search this out of your deck, even though it's limited. Should not be limited. The consistency of that deck is already really, really good. I think that Konami will try to hit around Tearlaments. Think about the ban list, the previous one and the one before. The hits were all around Tearlaments without hitting Tearlaments' name because they want to sell the tins in which the Tearlaments card are going to be reprinted in. So even though Kit Kalos is definitely on the chopping block, I think that Instant Fusion will be banned before Kit Kalos. But I do think they are, one is banned, the other one is kind of okay. And if Kit Kalos is banned, Instant Fusion can definitely stay at 1. And these are my predictions for the Forbidden list. I think that not a lot needs to happen in terms of bans. I think Kashtira will automatically balance the format out really, really quickly because it's such a natural counter to tier. But, you know, Saki cards that are really powerful should be banned. And the next limited card is going to be Keldo. I think that Keldo is probably, arguably, the best out of all of the Ishizu cards. There are 4. I think Ishizu cards are way more powerful than Tearlaments cards, and I think the ones that need to get hit, and probably will, are going to be the Ishizu cards. In the OCG, the first cards that they hit were actually like Agito, I think. Agito was the first to get limited, and maybe Havinus to 2 in the same ban list, but I think that Keldo, maybe even another name, maybe Keldo and Mudora, can just go to 1, and I think it is definitely the right call to start taking Ishizu cards out of that deck. We saw that even though Kit Kalos is banned in the OCG and most of the cards in the deck, including Ishizu cards, are limited, the deck still plays and it still performs and it's still number 1. So it's time to take down some names, and again, not a Tearlament name at that. And you haven't seen Barrier Statue of the Stormwind in the Forbidden section because I think that Konami still doesn't want to do that. I think it's still something that Konami wants to keep around to give Fluent Reese the power to compete. However, the deck is really powerful. It always makes like second place in every YCS or like national championships and stuff like that. So I've been saying that Magnificent Map should go to 1. a long time ago. It's a good consistency hit for the deck, but again, it's not going to be enough. But it is the right thing. If you take something with Floowandereeze in its name, it has to be that. And now it's time to release a few cards from the ban list. And it comes up every ban list prediction in every YouTuber's video. And it's going to be Harp Horror and Colossus. And the reasons for those two are, let's start off with Harp Horror. I think that Orcust is something that can be played and combined in a lot of strategies today. But I think that, again, with Bestials in the format, it's really hard. Bestials, Shufflers, anything like that. Even Kashtira, it's going to be hard to compete. So why not bring back Harp Horror to 1 and see what happens? I don't think there's going to be anything problematic with that. I've been playing a lot against various Orcust builds. The deck does absolutely nothing. I think this card can come back. On the other hand, Colossus is a floodgate and a very strong monster. Now we have a lot of Chaos support, we have a lot of Dragon support, we have the Bestials that can actually combine with Thunder Dragons, and we saw that in a lot of YCS tops, regional tops. A lot of deck lists are playing that combination, and Colossus is a very natural counter to Kashtira, actually. So maybe if they want to go that route, taking Colossus back to 1 could be a really good crowd pleaser and sort of like an interesting take on the format. I think that if you imagine, like Tatsim said on my show a long time ago, imagine Colossus on the board and you're playing Tearlaments Ishizu or Kashtira. Do you actually care? Is it actually doing anything? I think the answer is no. The next one is going to be Ancient Fairy Dragon. Just got errata in the OCG, came back to 1. Probably going to happen the same way over here. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. Could also capitalize on that with a huge reprint of like a Starlight Rare, which again, this is also a prediction. And yeah, Ancient Fairy, it's going to come back. It's not a meta call, it's just like an errata. It's going to come off the list. And another discussion point is going to be Branded Fusion. And you all know that I'm a Despia player. I love Branded to death. And I think that even if not now, I'm going to leave it in the discussion section for now. But I think maybe depends on when the ban list drops. If this is a March-April ban list, this card could get hit to 1. If it comes out after Photon Hypernova, like around the time before Cyberstorm Axis. Branded still gets a lot of support. 0 cards are hit in the deck, and if they hit Tearlaments and Ishizu, you automatically sort of go back to Sprite, which also has been hit and might as well be hit as well with those decks, and Branded and Sorcel. That was the last thing that conquered the meta before that. Branded are getting really, really crazy support, and I think that maybe not now, maybe the next ban list, it might get hit to 1. Semi-limited, Tearlaments Halfness. Again, I said that they're not going to hit the names. I think Halfness, it's the minimum that they can do, the least they can do is put Halfness to 1. It's a common, it's not a big seller, it's not a boss monster, it's just a hand trap. It's very cheap in design and in actual cardboard. And I think that Halfness should go to 2. These 3 hits, they put a stick in their wheels. It's a bump in the road for Tearlaments. It's nothing. It's a small hit to the wing. But something needs to happen. You know, they survived 2 ban lists without getting hit at all. You know, they always go around tier. It's time to start maybe with this. Another thing that I think can just go off and maybe make something interesting out of the format is Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. I saw GGYGOs, who's a, he's known for his Sky Striker knowledge and history. He said that Engage could come back to 2 if Hornet Drones is banned. Maybe. That's a solid take. I've been saying for the past 2 ban lists that Engage is going to come back because of a lot of the Striker support that is being released. We got a lot of Striker support, we got reprints, and we have more coming in the future. So maybe it's time to bring that back. And maybe with, Orcust, Harp Horror coming back, and Engage, we can see some Orcust Striker to some capacity, toss format over here. Maybe do that for the fans. I don't think Engage at 2 is going to be too oppressive, to be honest. But correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. And These two might go to semi-limited, maybe just straight to unlimited. I think this can easily go. Maybe they're gonna, dip their toes in the water and see what happens. But these two can just go. And I think that Desires in a format where you have Diablosis, the Mind Hacker, on the field is a good trade-off. They've been bringing more power to decks like Tri-Brigade recently, which is a very good deck. They've been bringing back some support, and maybe Desires is one of them, but it has a huge trade-off against decks like Kashtira. So maybe they bring that back, and I think this can definitely go back to 3. Giving more power to the deck is fine. At 2, it doesn't do anything. It's not topping. It's a good deck, but it's not going to top with Ishizu and Kashtira. Like, straight up, the biggest rivals to this deck, the biggest counters. So, bring it back. Let people have some fun. Is Cyberjar doing anything at 1? Who's going to play it if it's at 3? I don't know. I don't know if you can break this, but I think maybe, bring it back to 2 or 3 after being released from the list. Maybe it's a little bit fast. They took Yada off, Time Seal, stuff like that. Maybe they're going to take their time a bit, but I think this can definitely go back. Halki dying for the sins of a lot of cards. This card has been really strong even before that, or, in decks like Base, you play 3 normal summon, but maybe it's a little bit more boost to Synchro strategies, which are, right now Xyz, Fusion, and Lynx control the meta. Maybe you bring back some Synchro power. Who knows? I think it's fine. Like, in my opinion, you bring this back to 3. I don't think it's a big issue, but maybe it's like, with Kashtira, you make easy Barones, maybe. The last one is gonna be Tearlaments. And this is gonna be very contentious because I said these are the hits, right? These are the hits. I don't predict anything further. Tearlaments can go 2 ways. 1, it gets limited and it skyrockets in price. 1 is getting limited, which a lot of people I think are clamoring for / expecting. But this is going to be a little bit too much for the deck, in my opinion. If it stays at 3, Tearlaments are still full power. My personal prediction, and I'm basing this off of also, my purchases. Am I investing in this card right now? The answer is yes. I am buying 3 copies of this card if I can, because I don't personally think that they're going to limit the card. I think they might continue hitting around the tier cards, and this is a direct hit. Kashtira is coming out full power. They might want to let that play out and see what happens, because they feel like, this is the way they designed it. We're going to put out a really graveyard-centric deck. Then 2 sets later, we're going to release the ultimate counter to that deck. Everything is banished. Nothing goes to the graveyard. So maybe they just leave it at 3 and nothing happens. And I think this definitely might be the case. So I think this is the list for me. Let me know down in the comments. I'm sure you have a lot to talk about and a lot to say about this list. So please let me know down in the comments below. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed. And of course, subscribe if you are new. Join the channel as a member if you want to support me a little bit further. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.